Hey everybody, it's Brian back with Inspiring How You See That. We're the channel that talks about all different kinds of music and entertainment, and we interview some of your favorite artists. And today I got something really different for you. So this is the first of this kind. It's going to be a countdown video, but I'm kind of a nerd, okay? I like to collect cool things that I like, and I am a gamer. I like to video game, and I don't get to do it as nearly as much as I'd like to. You know, now that I'm older and you have more responsibilities, I don't have the time to do it like I did when I was a kid. But I still love video games. And as you'll see, I'm going to go over my top 10 video games of all time. And this is of any of the systems I've had. And it's anything from the Super Nintendo on up to... I'm sorry, from the Nintendo all the way up to today. And as you'll see, I'm kind of old school. Most of mine are in that, you know, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis area. And for my money, I think the system that was the most fun was the Super Nintendo system. It just... today's games are great, don't get me wrong. Most of them are not my cup of tea. I'm not really into the online multiplayer gaming. I'm not into the open world where it takes 1,000 hours to get to do anything. Not really what I like, so you won't see a lot of those. I do like a lot of the old school, like, you know, JRPGs, the role-playing games. I like some of the sports games. I like some of the platforming games. And you'll see the first-person shooters. Those are the kind of things that I like. And you'll see those sprinkled throughout. So, showing my nerddom on this one a little bit. But I hope you guys enjoy this. And I'd love to see your list down in the comments of what are some of your favorite video games. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll jump right in. Number 10, Punch-Out! Or Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Either one from the regular Nintendo. This game was groundbreaking. I remember playing it, and it's very simple. You're Mac. You're the little, and you got that kind of behind the fighter view, and you're fighting, you know, harder and harder fighters up until you get to Mike Tyson at the end. And what's cool is it's almost like a puzzle game where you've got to figure out what the weakness is for that boxer and try to exploit it before he knocks you out. It's just such a fun game to where it's that cool mix of like puzzle and sports. Even fighting game elements, and this all came about early on in gaming on the Nintendo system. So if you haven't checked out Punch-Out, make sure you do. Coming in at number 9, again, I like role-playing games, Final Fantasy X, and it was originally on the PlayStation 3, and I think it's been released on everything since then. This game was fantastic. I mean, the graphics and the storytelling were out of this world. I mean, it's one of those games that, you know, it does take you not 100 hours to get anything going, but 100 hours to complete. And you get wrapped up in it. You know, you've got the system where you're upgrading your abilities as you're going along. It's just a really cool game. I love the Final Fantasy series, and this is one of my favorites in Final Fantasy X. Coming in at number 8, and this was originally on the Xbox 360, is Max Payne 3. Now, I also loved the first two games, Max Payne 1 and 2. They had this really cool kind of like, you know, like a crime noir type of style. So there were cutscenes that were like old school comics that would go through. And it was very dark, and it was very mature themed. It was kind of a depressing game, but I liked them. Max Payne 3 took it to a whole new level. So it actually opened things up to where it was more of like an action, you know, the graphics, everything about it was just ratcheted up to 10. And I loved it. It was a fantastic story. Again, it kept that dark element. It kept the story. It changed, but it was still along the same lines. And I loved Max Payne 3. The game coming in at number 7 from the Genesis was Shining Force. Now, there's a couple of them. There's Shining Force 1 and 2, and I think there was like a Shining Force CD. And this was a role-playing strategy game. So it was where your party would grow, and you could move on a grid so many spots, and then you would try to battle enemies that could also me. It sounds kind of weird, but once you get into it, it's very easy and very addictive. As a matter of fact, I still have it on my Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I've got it in the Sega Genesis collection, and I still play it to this day. I love the Shining Force series. Shining Force 1 is the one that I chose because it was the first one. It was the one that kind of opened up that whole role-playing strategy game to me, and I loved it. So we're almost halfway through the list now. Coming in at number 6. This is a series that still is awesome today, but I'm going with the first one, Super Mario Kart from the Super Nintendo. And I'll tell you why I love this game so much. I like racing games as a whole, but what was special about Super Mario Kart, outside of the fun gameplay, the speed, the power-ups you could get, me and my brother used to play it all the time, my brother Mark. And it was something special that, you know, we would play for hours Super Mario Kart. It was like, who could get the red shell first and then destroy the other one? And it was such a blast playing that game. You know, even now, it was Super Mario Kart 8, and phenomenal game. But this is the one that started it all, Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo. So now we've hit the midway point in my countdown. Coming in at number 5, and I'm actually surprised it was down this low, Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. The release game for the new system, the Super Nintendo system. Now, the Mario Brothers 1, 2, and especially 3 were phenomenal. I mean, that is gaming. You don't have video game what it is today without Mario. Plain and simple, I firmly believe that. Those 3 games set the foundation for the gaming industry. Super Mario World took it to a whole new level. I mean, just the way that there was all these different levels and they intertwined and the power-ups were upgraded. The graphics went, what the Super Nintendo brought at the time was mind-blowing. And still to this day, it's one of the most fun platforming games I could play. And I play it over and over. I love Super Mario World. Number 4 for me, and this is probably one of the lesser known ones on the list, also from the Super Nintendo, was called Shadowrun. This is a game, I think I rented it, and it kind of, you know, was like a impulse rent. I knew nothing about it, and I absolutely adored this game. It's got RPG elements and kind of a unique puzzle element where you actually use words in conversations with non-playable characters to learn more, and then it's hard to explain, but that's how you kind of progress through the game. You also have, you know, action elements, and it's such a cool game. It's, you know, it's got this like cyberpunk feel of like a, you know, futuristic Seattle, and it's just such a cool atmospheric game, and I love everything about it. And it's one of those games I could go back and play and play and play. And so if you haven't heard of Shadowrun, you know, check it out. It's an awesome game on the Super Nintendo. Coming in at number 3, and I had mentioned the Final Fantasy series before, and I liked a lot of games. This one to me was the best ever. It's Final Fantasy 3 from Super Nintendo. This game was the one that I was like, okay, now I know what RPGs can do, and I love it. Because, I'll be honest, I really didn't like RPGs on the Nintendo system. I remember when I first got it, I got Legend of Zelda, the first one. I didn't care for it. I thought it was kind of dumb. So I thought all RPGs were going to be like that until I played this one. It blew my mind away. The story was amazing. The fact that you actually like took your character at one point through an opera was incredible. It just blew me away, and it grabbed my attention and never let go, and I adore Final Fantasy 3. Coming at number 2, even though I said I hated Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo, once we got to the Super Nintendo, oh, it was a different story. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo was phenomenal. If you give a 10 out of 10 to any game, it is this game. I love everything about it. The way that you upgrade, the way that... And it's all action-based. It's not turn-by-turn like a lot of role-playing games. So that was new for me. And that might have been new as a whole, as a concept, was that action RPG where you're moving, you're swinging the sword, you're not just putting in commands. And it was absolutely mind-blowing. And the way it would transition to, you know, a dark realm and the light realm, and you had to go back and forth. It's such a cool game. I absolutely love Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. So, we've listed number 10 through 2, and now it's time, what is my all-time favorite video game? And it debuted on the PlayStation 3, and it was the first in a trilogy, a mind-blowingly incredible trilogy. But the first one was such a unique, just genre-bending, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's Bioshock. Bioshock was probably the coolest experience I've ever had playing a video game. The graphics, the storytelling, the way that you would explore the areas, and you had combat and you fought, but you were looking for those tape recorders so you could hear the backstory and start to piece together what led to this horrible dystopian society. The kind of overarching social commentary of the game. Bioshock had it all. And Bioshock 2, and then especially Bioshock Infinite, really expanded on that, and it almost became this kind of surreal storyline. But it is such an awesome game. I'm telling you, if you take one game from here and play it, play Bioshock. You won't regret it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this list. Again, let us know what are some of your favorite video games. As you can see, I'm kind of across the board, and you know, I just love doing it. And I especially want to give a thank you to, you know, my buddies in Your Fractured Fairytale. You guys may remember they're a band from down in Pittsburgh that I got the opportunity to interview. And I went to David, the lead singer's house, and he had this really cool gaming man cave, and his video game collection was amazing. And his love for games really inspired me and got me thinking and got me playing games again, and that's what made me want to do this. So thank you, David. I appreciate it. As always, thank you guys for spending this time with us. We love you all. God bless, and rock on.
Flash time!